70-year-old woman, Gloria Jefferson, was publicly embarrassed in front of numerous passengers on a flight. But she had a secret power that she used to put the airline in its place. They say a lot can be inferred about someone by how they handle their coat, and Gloria's careful, neat folding of hers hinted at her decades of experience and discipline. Dressed elegantly in a pale blue silk blouse, pearl earrings, and dark gray trousers, with her silver hair pulled back into a smooth bun, she looked every inch the grandmother she was. However, her unassuming appearance belied a hidden history as a systems engineer for an aircraft manufacturer, a fact unknown to her fellow passengers. As Gloria sat at the gate, her mind raced with possibilities. She knew she had to act, not just for herself, but for everyone who had ever been treated unfairly and dismissed. She pulled out her phone and drafted a letter, her words concise and measured. She addressed it to Elliot Renshaw, CEO of Tarmac Air, outlining the events of the day, the grant conditions, and the trust's responsibility. She ended with a clear statement. Effective immediately, the Jefferson Family Trust is suspending all current and future funding for Tarmac Air. She sent the letter to Reuben, who reviewed it and sent it on its way. Meanwhile, Gloria approached the gate counter again, asking for the names of those responsible. The young agent hesitated before revealing the names of Brian Linwood and his direct supervisor. Gloria nodded, committing them to memory. Back at Tarmac Air headquarters, the letter from the Jefferson Family Trust landed on Elliot Renshaw's desk, just as he was about to call another emergency meeting. He opened it, his heart pounding as he read the final line. Effective immediately, the Jefferson Family Trust is suspending all current and future funding for Tarmac Air. Panic spread through the company. Marissa, watching a Slack channel she wasn't supposed to see, read the messages flying across the screen. "We're getting slaughtered online. We need a real apology, now." A junior executive named Trent Douglas messaged, "I've got a draft. It's not perfect, but it's honest." Daryl Sumner, Tarmac Air's communications director, was alerted to the situation. "We might have just kicked off Gloria Jefferson," a message read. Daryl's heart pounded. He knew who she was. He knew what their foundation meant for Tarmac. He alerted his superiors, and a flurry of calls and messages ensued. Gloria, in the meantime, received an email from Marissa Nguyen, a Tarmac employee who had witnessed the email exchange about her removal. They used the word optics and mentioned too many non-premium flyers in the front rows, Marissa wrote. Gloria forwarded the email to Reuben, and they both knew this was just the beginning. Marissa's phone rang and she answered tentatively. "Hello? Marissa, this is Reuben Dillard, Executive Director of the Jefferson Family Trust. I believe you sent us a message earlier today." She almost dropped the phone. Yes, I did. "I'd like to ask you a few questions, Marissa. Don't worry, you're not in trouble. In fact, you may be one of the few people doing the right thing. You didn't want it to disappear, did you?" Marissa exhaled slowly. "No, I didn't." Meanwhile, Gloria was already drafting her next move. She knew she had to act fast, to make sure her voice was heard, and that change would come from her actions. Elliot Renshaw gathered his senior team in the boardroom, his expression grave. "We have a crisis on our hands," he said, "and we need to act fast. I want options on the table by end of day. We can't just issue another statement and hope it goes away." The team exchanged nervous glances, knowing the gravity of the situation. They brainstormed ideas, from offering Gloria a public apology to implementing immediate policy changes. Meanwhile, Elliot received a call from a high-profile investor demanding answers and threatening to pull out if the situation wasn't handled properly. Elliot listened, his jaw set. "I understand your concerns," he said, his voice steady. "And I assure you, we're doing everything in our power to resolve this issue. We'll have a plan in place by tomorrow." He hung up the phone and turned to his team. "We need something big," he said. "Something that shows we're taking this seriously. Let's bring Gloria in for a private apology, on camera. We'll stream it live on all our platforms." The team looked at each other, surprised. That's risky, sir," one of them said. "But it might just work," another added. "It's a bold move, but it shows genuine remorse." Meanwhile, Gloria was enjoying a quiet dinner with her family in Savannah. She had just finished telling them about her day, about the tea with Mrs. Thompson, and the conversations she'd had with Reuben. Her daughter Lorraine had listened intently, her expression thoughtful. "Mom, I think you should do it," she said suddenly. "I think you should go to Tarmac Air and accept their apology, on camera." Gloria looked at her daughter, taken aback. "What? Why?" "Because it's not just about you anymore, Mom," Lorraine said. "It's about setting a precedent. It's about showing the world that you can't treat people like that and get away with it. And who better to do that than you?" Gloria considered her daughter's words, a slow smile spreading across her face. "You're right, Lorraine. You're absolutely right." The next day, Gloria called Elliot Renshaw, accepting his invitation for a private apology. The live stream was set up, with cameras and lights ready to capture the moment. As Gloria walked onto the stage, the room fell silent. She stood tall, her head held high, her eyes steady. "Mr. Renshaw," she began, her voice clear and strong, "I appreciate your invitation today. I appreciate your willingness to apologize, publicly and sincerely. But I want to make one thing clear. This isn't about me. It's about every person who has ever been dismissed, overlooked, or made to feel small. It's about every person who has ever been told they don't belong when they do." She paused, looking out at the sea of cameras, at the millions watching online. "I'm here today because I believe in second chances. I believe in the power of apology, of genuine remorse, but I also believe in accountability. I believe in consequences, and I believe that those consequences should be swift, fair, and meaningful." She turned to Elliot, her expression softening. "I accept your apology, Mr. Renshaw, but I also expect change. I expect policy reforms, training programs, and a genuine commitment to doing better, because this isn't just about one incident, one apology. It's about a culture. It's about a way of being." The room erupted in applause as Gloria finished speaking. Elliot Renshaw stepped forward, his hand extended. "Thank you, Ms. Jefferson," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. "We won't let you down." And so, with one quiet woman's stand, the conversation around respect, dignity, and accountability was forever changed. The ripple effects of Gloria's actions echoed through the airline industry, through corporate boardrooms, and through the halls of power. And as she walked off the stage, her head held high, she knew that she had not only stood up for herself, but for every person who had ever been silenced, overlooked, or made to feel small. Because sometimes, all it takes is one voice, one quiet, determined voice, to start a revolution. "We need to do something big," he said, addressing the crisis management team. "We need to show the world that we take this seriously. Let's bring Gloria in for a private apology on camera. We'll stream it live on all our platforms." The team looked at each other, surprised. That's risky, sir," one of them said. "But it might just work," another added. "It's a bold move, but it shows genuine remorse." Meanwhile, Gloria was enjoying a quiet dinner with her family in Savannah. She had just finished telling them about her day, about the tea with Mrs. Thompson, and the conversations she'd had with Reuben. Her daughter Lorraine had listened intently, her expression thoughtful. "Mom, I think you should do it," she said suddenly. "I think you should go to Tarmac Air and accept their apology on camera." Gloria looked at her daughter, taken aback. "What? Why?" "Because it's not just about you anymore, Mom," Lorraine said. "It's about setting a precedent. It's about showing the world that you can't treat people like that and get away with it. And who better to do that than you?" Gloria considered her daughter's words, a slow smile spreading across her face. "You're right, Lorraine. You're absolutely right." The next day, Gloria called Elliot Renshaw, accepting his invitation for a private apology. The live stream was set up, with cameras and lights ready to capture the moment. As Gloria walked onto the stage, the room fell silent. She stood tall, her head held high, her eyes steady. "Mr. Renshaw," she began, her voice clear and strong, "I appreciate your invitation today. I appreciate your willingness to apologize, publicly and sincerely. But I want to make one thing clear. This isn't about me. It's about every person who has ever been dismissed, overlooked, or made to feel small. It's about every person who has ever been told they don't belong when they do. She paused, looking out at the sea of cameras, at the millions watching online. I'm here today because I believe in second chances. I believe in the power of apology, of genuine remorse. But I also believe in accountability. I believe in consequences. And I believe that those consequences should be swift, fair, and meaningful. She turned to Elliot, her expression softening. I accept your apology, Mr. Renshaw. But I also expect change. I expect policy reforms, training programs, and a genuine commitment to doing better. Because this isn't just about one incident, one apology. It's about a culture. It's about a way of being. The room erupted in applause as Gloria finished speaking. Elliot Renshaw stepped forward, his hand extended. Thank you, Ms. Jefferson, he said, his voice filled with gratitude. We won't let you down. And so, with one quiet woman's stand, the conversation around respect, dignity, and accountability was forever changed. The ripple effects of Gloria's actions echoed through the airline industry, through corporate boardrooms, and through the halls of power. And as she walked off the stage, her head held high, she knew that she had not only stood up for herself, but for every person who had ever been silenced, overlooked, or made to feel small. Because sometimes all it takes is one voice, one quiet, determined voice, to start a revolution. I warned you this wouldn't go unnoticed, Reuben said, his voice grave. You don't treat a woman like that and expect her to fade away. By lunchtime, news outlets were abuzz. Reuben had discreetly alerted his contacts, and the story began to spread. An article in a business news outlet read, Philanthropist pulls $800 million in airline funding after onboard incident, detailing Gloria's removal and the subsequent funding suspension. Social media erupted. Videos of Gloria's calm demeanor as she was removed from the plane went viral, sparking outrage and support. Commentary pieces and speculation flooded in. With one post reading, the most dangerous thing in America is a quiet black woman with money, memory, and motive. Gloria, however, remained unperturbed. She went about her day, having tea with her neighbor and organizing her church's scholarship committee. Meanwhile, pressure mounted on Tarmac Air. A retired aviation executive penned an op-ed describing Gloria's career and the impact she had made, both publicly and anonymously. At Tarmac's headquarters, the atmosphere grew tense. Board members called for an internal review, and investors watched warily. Some employees, like Marissa, quietly celebrated the chaos, hoping that this time their concerns would be heard. By Friday, news anchors were saying Gloria's name with confidence, and commentators debated the ethics of her removal. Airline analysts predicted investor fallout. But Gloria was already packing for another trip, ready to board a flight where she wouldn't be silenced or second-guessed. When she landed in Savannah on Friday evening, the airport was calm. No cameras, no fanfare, just the smell of salt in the air and the soft clack of her heels on the terminal floor. While Gloria remained silent, the nation was abuzz with her story. News outlets featured her removal from the plane, sparking outrage and introspection. A senator from Oregon referenced her case during a hearing, while Brielle, her great-granddaughter, watched the news in disbelief. Tarmac Air's stock plummeted, and their PR efforts fell short. Gloria, however, wasn't watching the headlines. She was enjoying a quiet dinner with her family in Savannah, discussing the incident with her daughter and granddaughter. Across the country, conversations continued, and Gloria's words echoed through social media and news outlets. When Reuben suggested a press conference, Gloria agreed, but on her terms. If I'm going to speak, she said, it's going to be at the Civic Center in Macon, Georgia. Gloria stood before a modest audience in Macon, Georgia, her voice steady and clear. I didn't come here for revenge, she began. I came here to remind us what we've forgotten. Respect is not a gift. It's a right. She spoke of her removal from the plane, of the quiet dismissals that often go unnoticed. We make excuses for institutions that mistreat people, she said. But what if every single quiet dismissal meant something? What if we started holding people accountable before they're trending on the internet? Her words resonated, sparking conversations and changes in airline policies. Reuben called her the next morning. "You're a national figure now," he said. Gloria chuckled. "I've been a national figure since 1983. They just didn't know." Brielle slid the glass of orange juice across the table, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "You know they're still talking about you online, right?" she said. "Let them," Gloria replied, taking a sip of her coffee. "They'll stop when someone else does something louder, but don't you care about how big this got?" Brielle shook her head, her expression serious. "I care about you, Gigi, and I care about what kind of world you grow up in. That's bigger than a news cycle." Gloria smiled softly at her great-granddaughter. "You're wise beyond your years, Brielle. But to answer your question, no, I wasn't scared when they told me to leave the plane. I was just tired." Brielle leaned in, her eyes wide. "Tired? But you didn't yell. You didn't cry. You just made that one call." "That's the thing about power, Brielle," Gloria said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Real power doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to know when to speak." The room fell silent, the kind of silence that held meaning, not absence. The sun streamed in through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow on the worn wooden table. The clock on the wall ticked steadily, the only sound in the room. Later that day, Gloria took a walk through the neighborhood park. Kids ran by, chasing a soccer ball, their laughter echoing through the park. A woman pushing a stroller smiled at her, her eyes crinkling at the corners. Nothing dramatic, just life, as it should be. A teenage boy sitting on a bench looked up from his phone. "Hey, excuse me? Are you Miss Jefferson?" he asked. Gloria stopped, a small smile playing on her lips. She was wearing her favorite pair of linen pants and a simple white blouse, her silver hair pulled back into a neat bun. She looked every inch the elegant grandmother she was, but there was something else in her eyes, a quiet strength that couldn't be ignored. "Yes, I am," she said, her voice steady and calm. "My mom told me about you, said you taught a whole country how to act right without yelling once." Gloria chuckled softly, her eyes twinkling. "Tell your mother I appreciate her words, and you, remember this. If you ever see someone being mistreated, don't wait to be asked. Just stand beside them. That's all it sometimes takes." He nodded, a determined look in his eyes. "Yes, Mom," he said, standing up and walking away with new purpose. Gloria watched him go, a sense of pride swelling in her chest. In the heart of a still, moonlit night, Gloria Jefferson sat alone on the weathered porch of her modest home, the silver glow of the full moon painting long, dancing shadows across the dew-kissed lawn. The symphony of crickets serenaded her from the velvet darkness, their soft, rhythmic chirps weaving a soothing lullaby that seemed to echo the steady beat of her own heart. She clutched a faded photograph, its edges worn smooth by the countless times she had unfolded and refolded it over the years. The image was of her granddaughter, Brielle, a vibrant young woman with a smile that could outshine the sun and eyes that sparkled with the promise of a future filled with possibilities. Gloria's mind drifted back through the generations, to every woman who had come before her, who had known the sting of injustice, the bitter taste of disrespect. She thought of the great-grandmothers who had been silenced by societal norms, their voices stifled by the chains of expectation and oppression. She thought of the grandmothers who had marched, who had fought, who had laid the foundation for women like her to stand on the shoulders of giants. And she thought of Brielle, and all the young women who would come after her, deserving of a world where their dignity was inherent, their worth undeniable. Her fingers traced the creases of the photograph, as if connecting with the strength that Brielle's smile represented. She had carried that strength with her, not just in the physical sense, but in her spirit, her resolve. It had been there on Flight 2, when she had been treated like less than she was. It had been there on Flight 18, when she had decided that she would not, could not stay silent any longer. And it was there now, as she sat on her porch, under the watchful gaze of the moon, her heart brimming with determination. Gloria was not a woman of grand gestures or loud outbursts. She was a quiet storm, her elegance a shield that concealed the fierce fire within. Her voice was not thunderous, but it was powerful, resonating with a clarity that cut through the noise of the world. She had spoken her truth, not with the intention of trending on social media or making headlines, but because it was the right thing to do. Because she deserved to be treated with respect, and because she wanted every woman, every girl, to know that they deserved the same. Her story had not been about punishing an airline or seeking vengeance. It had been about drawing a line in the sand, about saying, "No more." It had been about showing the world that dignity was not a privilege to be bestowed upon the lucky few, but a right that belonged to every single human being. It had been about proving that age did not dictate worth, and that quiet strength could topple the mightiest of giants. As she folded the photograph back into her wallet, tucking it safely away, she felt a sense of pride swell within her. She had sparked a conversation, a global dialogue about respect, dignity, and accountability. She had shown the world that silence was not an option, that every action, no matter how small, could make a difference. She had stood up, not with a roar, but with a steady, unyielding voice, and in doing so, she had become a beacon of hope for women everywhere. So, go ahead, like, subscribe, and share her story. Tell your friends, your family, your colleagues. Let's make sure that every corner of the world knows that silence is not an option. Let's ensure that every woman, every girl, knows that they are worthy of respect, that they are strong, and that their voices matter. Because sometimes the smallest gesture can become the loudest voice, and the quietest woman can become the loudest roar. And that roar, that symphony of voices united, will echo through the ages, a testament to the power of dignity, the power of truth, and the power of women standing tall. In the annals of history, there are tales that transcend time, imbuing our collective consciousness with profound lessons. The narrative of Gloria Jefferson is one such tale, a chronicle of quiet fortitude, unyielding dignity, and unassailable truth. Her story, a beacon of resilience and courage, illuminates the path for us all, guiding us towards a more equitable and compassionate world. Gloria Jefferson, a woman of advanced years, yet possessing an eternal spirit, embodies the power of silent strength. Her journey is a testament to the fact that age is but a number, devoid of any correlation to one's worth or significance. She teaches us that every individual, regardless of their age, carries within them an intrinsic value that demands recognition and respect. In her quiet, unassuming manner, Gloria sparked a global conversation. Her actions, seemingly small and innocuous, ignited a flame that spread across continents, illuminating the dark corners of inequality and injustice. She demonstrated that it is not the volume of our voices that matters, but the conviction and truth behind them. Her story serves as a powerful reminder that we are all capable of creating ripples of change, no matter how humble our beginnings may be. Respect, Gloria reminds us, is not a privilege to be bestowed upon the deserving, nor a reward to be earned through arduous toil. It is a fundamental right, inherent to every human being, and a responsibility that each of us must uphold. She shows us that respect is not a commodity to be bartered or traded, but a sacred trust to be honored and protected. Silence, in the face of injustice, is not an option. Gloria's story echoes this truth with a resounding clarity. She stands as a sentinel, her quiet voice resonating through the ages, urging us to break the chains of silence and speak out against the wrongs we witness. Her journey is a clarion call, a rallying cry for every soul to find their voice, no matter how soft or tentative it may be. For when we gather our voices together, when we amplify each other's echoes, we create a symphony of change that cannot be silenced. The story of Gloria Jefferson is more than just a tale of triumph over adversity. It is a call to action, a battle cry for every woman and every man to rise up and demand the respect and dignity that is their birthright. It is a reminder that we are all interconnected, that our actions, no matter how seemingly insignificant, have consequences that ripple outward, touching the lives of others. In the spirit of Gloria Jefferson, let us stand together, united in our pursuit of a world where kindness, compassion, and respect are not exceptions, but the norm. Let us ensure that every woman, every girl, knows that they are worthy of respect, that they possess an inner strength that cannot be broken, and that their voices, though they may quaver, hold the power to shape the world. So, go ahead, like this story, subscribe to our channel, and share it far and wide. Let us ensure that the tale of Gloria Jefferson reaches every corner of the globe, inspiring every soul it touches. Let us create a world where every voice is heard, where every story is told, and where every person is treated with the dignity and respect they so richly deserve. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified when we share more stories of courage, resilience, and inspiration. Together, we can turn the tide of history, forging a new path where every voice sings in harmony, creating a world that truly reflects the power of stories like Gloria Jefferson's. For in the end, it is not the noise that defines us, nor the clamor of our voices. It is the quiet strength, the dignity, and the truth that we carry within us, waiting to be unleashed. And when we unleash it, together, we become an unstoppable force, a roar of unity that echoes through the ages, shaping the world in our collective image. That, dear friends, is the true power of Gloria Jefferson's story.